kind of scary.
Yeah, and you say, "Oh, kicker doesn't matter," but I can show you at least one very important game last year where it did matter. So it has to be. I almost kind of joke about bringing that up, but that is kind of a legitimate concern to me, don't you think?
Most definitely. I mean, when you can't make short, easy field goals in the clutch, especially now that your defense might be a tad bit off, even if they're one notch down from what they were last year, they're probably losing at least 2 or 3 games just because of the kicking game. Their defense saved them in a lot of games last year.
Yeah. All right. Before we go through the schedule, I want to give you the opportunity to tell me what 3 big questions you have about Alabama's team this year. If all these question marks turn out to be positives, you could say that Alabama will have its best possible record, winning the national championship, whatever that might be. If all these things go bad, Alabama will be at the lower end of its expectations for the record. What 3 things you got for me?
All right. Number one, I believe that, especially in the type of football that's being played, both in the college ranks and the NFL, it starts and ends with the quarterback. I believe A.J. McCarron is an older quarterback. I think he's got experience. He needs to stay healthy, and he needs to keep making good decisions and protecting the ball. If he does it, there's not a whole lot behind it. Philip Eli is a freshman, 6'1" of 198, pro-style quarterback. I don't think he's got it in him, and nobody behind him has any experience. So I think A.J. McCarron is technically star number one. He's got to come in and do his job because there's not really anybody behind him who can step up. I think we touched on it a little bit before. Ferry really needs to step up. He needs to be a consistent safety if Alabama defense is going to do well against the pass, and they're going to get tested. They may have to play Missouri, Texas A&M. They're going to play some teams who throw the ball out. And the third thing, I believe, is the offensive line health. They have got to stay healthy to be able to move that offense, because if they don't have a lot behind them, just kind of like the quarterback situation. Until Alabama can get some more depth. They've had a great team the last couple of years, but they're paying for it now. A lot of young recruits, unproven. They've got to stay healthy as a team if they're going to make it in the SEC this year.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on your first one, A.J. McCarron. I've always been kind of puzzled by him. I've heard a lot of people say that A.J. McCarron is one of the best quarterbacks that Alabama's had in a long time. I don't really see that. I mean, I think he's serviceable. He's not going to make too many mistakes, but as far as Alabama trying to open it up and really pass the ball this year, I highly doubt that he's a guy who can just sling it all over the place and single-handedly lead them to victory. But A.J. McCarron being serviceable and not messing up too much, that's got to happen for them to have a pretty successful season. And like you said, not to get hurt either. The number 2 question for me is the wide receivers. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Are they going to make AJ's job a little bit easier, give him targets to throw to? Definitely some pretty unproven guys there that are going to have to step up. And in that same vein, the entire secondary, not just Sunseri, but I think Alabama's defense is going to be pretty good against stopping the run. But, with that many inexperienced guys in the secondary, you just have to wonder, can somebody step up to fill that gap? So we'll see about the answers to those questions. Let's go through Alabama's schedule here real quickly. They're opening up in that game in the Jerry Dome versus Michigan. Then they get Western Kentucky at home, followed by a trip to Arkansas. Then a game at home against Florida Atlantic, followed by a home game with Ole Miss. Then they travel to Missouri, to Tennessee, at home against Mississippi State. That big rematch in Baton Rouge at LSU is next, followed by Texas A&M's first trip to Tuscaloosa. And then the week before the Auburn game, they get a nice tune-up against Western Carolina at home. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl is in Tuscaloosa this year. David, how do you see that one shaking out?
I look at the schedule. I understand they're young. They've got to stay healthy. I believe they can do both. I think they're going to go 11-1. I still think they lose to LSU.
Yeah.
Even with the Honey Badger leaving, I still think that's going to be a tough game for them. I don't see it coming away with winning it down.
Yeah, I see the same thing. I mean, as much as it pains me to say that Auburn's going to lose to Alabama, at this point in the season, it's very tough for me to say that Auburn can go into Tuscaloosa and win that game. So I think if that LSU game was in Tuscaloosa, it'd be a different story. But in Baton Rouge, I don't see any way Alabama wins that one this year. So I'm going 11-1 as well. But like we said, depending on how some of these question marks work out, things could go a little bit differently. Basically, everyone's saying at this point that the SEC West is a two-horse race between Alabama and LSU, but history in the SEC kind of tells us that nobody can stay on top completely for that long. So we've kind of been...
Okay, well, let's look at this. I've got one. I'm curious to see what you think. Let's just say something odd happens and something unpredictable happens. Maybe they get a couple of injuries. Maybe A.J. McCarron's not as true as we thought he might be. And Alabama takes one more loss. Who do you think they lose this week?
Well, I might have said Michigan, but that's too early in the season. There wouldn't be any injuries at that point. If Bobby Petrino was still there, I might have said Arkansas, but I'm not sure about that one either. I don't know. It's kind of tough to say who it might be. I mean, maybe Texas A&M. Although that's a home game for Alabama. Maybe
Texas A&M, I think, would be my pick, just because coming off of a tough physical game against an LSU, and then going against somebody who spreads the ball out so much and just like air it out with a questionable secondary. I think that they have a chance. That's a real tough game that they need to have marked on their schedule because they can trip up and lose 2 games back to back.
Yeah, and maybe that kind of starts a spiral toward the end of the season. You lose 2 of those games, you get to rebound against Western Carolina. But as an Auburn fan, I guess I can dream that the team just kind of falls apart and Auburn can get in there and get a victory as well. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. But all right, we're going to take a quick break. Got a special surprise for you on the other side here. I'm going to talk some football with some special guests. We'll see you on the other side here about putting our coverage. Make sure you stick around for this one. It's going to be good stuff. We're back here on the other side of outputting our coverage. We have 2 very special guests with us who may or may not want to remain nameless. We will allow them to introduce themselves if they like. Let's ask some quick football questions here. Unnamed contestant number 1, who's standing next to me right now. Who is your pick to win the SEC this year?
To win the SEC?
Yes.
I would have to say, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I'll choose Auburn.
Okay, so unnamed contestant number 1 going with Auburn. Unnamed contestant number 2, what's your choice?
Alabama.
Okay. So somewhat of a predictable answer there. David, maybe you'll have better luck with your question.
I think we've got 2 homers over here.
Yeah.
All right, I want to test your knowledge. Can you name
Who?
4 teams in the SEC? Contestant number 2, sitting right next to you.
Oh, she can't name 4 teams?
Name 4 teams in the SEC.
I can name 4 teams, but I can name 5. We have Alabama, Auburn, LSU. We have...
We are at 3 on the ticker.
Texas.
Oh, okay.
No, Texas is not one. It's Texas. I think she meant to say Texas A&M.
So we made it to 3.5.
All right, so she got 4 out of 5. That's close enough. Contestant number 1.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what?
It's your turn.
Oh, my question?
Number 1.
It is your turn.
Other different ones?
Yes.
We got Mississippi State, we got Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Arkansas. You want more?
No, 4's enough. What do you think, Andy?
It's very impressive. Very impressive. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. If you could, let's see. Okay, let me give you a hypothetical scenario.
For me?
Yes. Let's say that the coach of your favorite football team fell seriously ill, had to step down from the job. Would you or would you not be okay with hiring Bobby Petrino?
I would not be okay.
Why? Why exactly?
Because
what did he
the
do?
incident with the motorcycle.
But what exactly did he do on the motorcycle?
He embarrassed himself and did not have a very good standard for his players, for his team. He just, no morals.
Would you support me having a motorcycle?
No.
Okay. Maybe we should go with a different question.
Okay, I've got a question for you. Unnamed contestant number 2 sitting next to me. I asked this question to Andy last week, so I'm going to ask you again. If you had one sport in the Olympics that you think you could beat an Olympic athlete at, what sport would it be?
It's a good question.
It has to be Summer Olympics.
To beat who at?
An Olympian.
Oh, an Olympian.
Yes.
Of that sport?
You have to let contestant number 2 answer.
Rhythmic gymnastics.
Oh, good choice. Good choice, contestant number 2.
What would your answer be?
Mine would be race walking.
Race walking.
I discovered it this week. We had a race at work. I came in second out of
So you
2.
came in second against your Olympic athletes at work, right?
Yep.
That caliber of athlete?
Yep.
All right, David, we got time for one more question. You're much better at this than I am. Send us out on a really exciting question.
A really exciting question.
Yes.
No pressure.
What is a scrum?
Oh,
What?
Great question. Good
What
stuff.
is a scrum?
Victoria doesn't have her phone, does she? Oops, sorry, unnamed contestant.
No, that is not a... unnamed contestant number 2 said it's a guy who's not going to get any love from her. I believe that is a scrub.
That is a scrub.
Contestant number 1,
It's something to do with football.
not quite. It is a scrum is in rugby, a different kind of football.
I don't really care about rugby. This is America.
All right, Amy, I believe that's going to be all from our side.
Yeah, I think that's all we have time for this special segment this evening. Make sure you tune in to Outputting Our Coverage next week for our Auburn Tigers football preview. And the week after, we will be previewing the first week of the season. Actually, I believe that night that we will be having the show is the first college football game of the season. So very exciting stuff happening there. It is right around the corner. Thanks again for listening to Outputting Our Coverage. We'll be back next week. Until then, everybody stay classy.